Hello, friends. Oh, I'm on this double monitor setup. Let me move myself here. Hello, welcome. Oh man, Saturday mornings. Okay, well, today we will be talking a little bit about a very popular subject. I've actually gotten some DMs about making monies in college. How do we do it? How do we make a lot of it? What is the progression? What are the steps? What are the strategies, tactics, all that good stuff? We'll be covering it all today. Feel free to interrupt with any questions you guys have. This can be related to college admissions, college life, Yale, boarding school, or anything about my personal life too. I'll do my best to share, but not overshare. Okay, let me get started. So when it comes to making money in college, let's run through a timeline. So let's say that you are a senior and you have just graduated, which is, I think, many people on this kind of in this who watch these videos are in that range. So one of the best things that you guys can do if you are a senior and you're entering college in the fall is, pick up a summer job. Hey, Aryan Kumar, how's it going? Wow, we have a lot of people joining in the first minute. 5 people, very popular subject. Maybe you guys got the notification. Okay, so where was I? Making money. Let's start with the summers. Summers are probably the biggest money-making opportunity. And I would qualify maybe the jobs into 2 categories. So you can have taking a look at Denise, 70% merit and financial needs scholarship, but I don't have enough money to cover the remaining. Denise, you can start a GoFundMe, or you can just email the program director and explain, hey, here's how much I can pay. Like, I can afford $800. Work with me. And just kind of appeal for more aid. But you need to write a personal, heartfelt letter that you have written out, maybe 500 to 1,000 words, and then email the director of the program, and maybe even email the director of Oxbridge. So yeah, that's a quick aside. I would explain your situation and show that you're willing to compromise. So you don't want them to pay for the whole thing, but you're like, hey, look, I'll fundraise $800, but I need you guys to help me cover the rest, and I'm sure they'll do it. Monies, yes, scholarship. There's an art to this. I was just got recruited by this website, and they were getting college mentors, and there was this girl who I think goes to Princeton now. It was either Princeton or UPenn, one of the P Ivies, and she won over $2 million in scholarship money. It's one of those things where once you guys kind of get the hang of it and you've won a little bit, it actually snowballs and it becomes easier and easier. I think I talked about this effect when it came to summer programs and awards. It applies throughout high school and, of course, in college, where it matters even more, right? Because it's going to affect your profession and your future. Good question, Denise. Anyways, back to the money talks. I'm kind of like woozy today. I need some coffee. So there's 2 kinds of jobs. One would be pretty like standard menial labor kind of job, which I think is just wonderful. I think everyone should do it at least once in their life. Maybe for a summer, if it's even 4 weeks is enough, but maybe you want to do it for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, the entire summer. So examples of this would be becoming a camp counselor, even just working at a grocery store in your local area, like literally menial work. So you actually become a little bit more attuned with how society functions. This can be as a waiter, waitress, etc. I think it's really nice to figure out, like, combine some of your hobbies with a menial job. So for me, I really enjoyed tennis, and I actually worked at a tennis shop in like a really fancy resort on Martha's Vineyard. Thanks to one of my friends, she hooked me up with this job. So we were paid like pretty well considering the amount of work that we did. I remember making a couple grand that summer. I lived with my friend. We had like tons of fun, barbecues, played lots of spike ball, and I basically worked 30, 40 hours a week, but it was a very chill job. Essentially, we just sat in the tennis shop, strung some rackets, made sure that, if rich people came and they forgot a shirt, they could buy a shirt, they could buy some balls, all that good stuff, log their lessons. So we were sitting in the AC, and I watched a lot of tennis this summer. I remember just being paid like $13 an hour to watch tennis. And then every once in a while, we'd have to clean the courts. And that was it. It was a really awesome first job. And I was really thankful for it because I used that money to buy a new laptop. So I'm just going to, I can run through some of the jobs that I've worked. That was $15 an hour. And, 5 years later, I'm making like $100, $120 an hour. So I'll walk you guys through my progression and explain kind of how we started off, right? I think the journey is more important than the destination. Okay, so there I was working this tennis shop job, and I just want you guys to note that there's so many equivalents, right? I think it will be a little bit trickier if you're an international student, but even still, if you're an international student and you can find out a way to work at a US-based summer camp, there's ways to do that for sure. There are, whether it's like an academic camp or maybe you stay and you TA. There's lots of different options. Like I know once you guys enter university, let's say you go to a school, even if it's a big state school, there are opportunities to live at the dorm over the summer, get free rent, and be a TA and do some of these summer programs. There's always opportunities like that. So I would still categorize all of these jobs which don't require like there's essentially like societal, more quote unquote menial jobs. And then there are professional jobs where, for instance, you're a software engineering intern, or maybe you're an investment banking intern or something along those lines. You're doing some really serious business work. You're a venture capital intern. Maybe you're a law intern. Those tend to pay a lot better. And in terms of salary, like software engineering jobs will pay you bank. They will pay you a lot. You can make like 20, 30 grand in a summer as a college student, right? That's a lot. That's like more than my family makes, more than my parents make in a year. So if you're working at a FANG company, Google, Facebook, Apple, yeah, during a summer, you could make that much. Now, those are really competitive, and it's really unique because like, let's say you wanted to do something related to the field of law or medicine. I don't know any law or medicine internships or jobs over the summer that would pay you that kind of money. Unheard of. So just keep that in mind. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to interrupt. Don't forget to sauce this video, like, let me know where you guys are watching from. And of course, I'm more than happy to answer questions not related to money. I might just finish my point, address your question, and then continue talking about the subject. Okay, so there's the summertime hustle. And if you guys are very serious about like professional development, or maybe you're in desperate need of money, hey Emma, how's it going? Then it might make a lot of sense to pursue those kinds of internships. And it's kind of one of my regrets. You know, I wish I had done something a little bit more formal. I was kind of bumping along and ended up doing very entrepreneurial things during my summer. Anyways, so yeah, it would be great if you guys had some examples. So maybe Emma, Denise, if you guys are watching this and you're like, hey, Kevin, you know, I'm not sure. This is what I'm interested in. How could I find a job in this area? I'm sure we could figure something out. Now, when it comes to jobs, yeah, I mean, it really, really helps to focus on something where you want to test your passion and whether you could actually function in this professional setting. So for instance, maybe you love reading. Maybe you love reading and writing. You want to be an English major, and you end up looking for like, what kind of jobs would be good for me? I'm trying to figure out something that would pay me, where I could make money, get some real world experience. Wow, what if I interned at a publishing house, right? So you can even start by offering to work for free and then negotiate an offer afterwards. If you show up and you give like a lot of value to the publishing house, and you help them do like 2 or 3 projects, and then you're like, hey, by the way, I love working with you guys. Can you pay me like 10, 20 bucks an hour? For sure. I just want you guys to understand that so many jobs in the real world are just negotiable. They are. Like they'll say 15 an hour, they'll say 20 an hour. These rates are very, very much negotiable. And as a young student, I think you guys need, I think it would be really helpful to have a lot of courage, and feel free to ask for more. Don't hesitate. Go above and beyond in your work. And then once you've over-delivered, you can ask for something in return. And that is pretty much the name of the game. I just wanted to drop in working on my last school assignment. Hope the live goes well. Thanks for dropping in, Emma. Means a lot. All right. So there are those kind of menial jobs, which I think are pretty easy to find. The professional software engineering, investment banking are actually incredibly coveted and really, really hard to get into. Like I would say the acceptance rate is probably less than 5%. It's more competitive. It's even just as competitive, if not more competitive than many of the colleges. So just keep an eye out for that. It really helps to have a referral when you're entering those. That's really a subject for like some other day. Okay, but let's just say that you're starting off working those menial jobs, and I really recommend you do so during your summer, and you can even do so during the school year. Now, some people might ask, like, what's the benefit, Kevin, to doing something like such a menial job as opposed to I could go work at a software engineering firm. I'd make like 30K over the summer, and I'd have the prestige under my name. Obviously, this is a pretty ideal scenario. Not everyone can do it, but there are still benefits that a menial job can offer, which a software engineering, very serious internship cannot. For example, some of these menial jobs are just like free money, guys. Like I literally guarantee you every single college has a job which is throwing money at you. to the extent where I was working as a cluster tech, a student tech essentially, but a student technician who runs computer labs. Runs, very loosely runs. I basically monitor the computer lab, make sure it doesn't blow up, and they would pay me $15 an hour to be there. Basically, I was getting paid to study, to literally sit in this lab, and then every 20 minutes you just say, hi, everything's under control. That's it. You just type in a message. Unless like something really crazy happens, like the worst thing that would happen is a paper jam, which could be solved in 15 minutes of effort. So this was a job where I would literally sit there, and for I want to say like 2.5 years, I was making a couple $100 a week just studying and sitting there. And I think there were weeks where I didn't want to go home or save some money or something like that, and we could easily work like 40, 50 hours a week doing nothing. Like we would literally sit there and watch Netflix, and there was no effort. There are jobs like that everywhere. So whether it's working at the library where you can study, or sometimes I've heard at the gym, there is just like, like you have to understand that these colleges literally created money, like created funds for these jobs so that they could pay low income kids like you and me, right? Or international kids who might need the money, something along those lines. So literally this exists. You just have to look for it. Follow-up question, naturally, which is how do we look for it? Very, very simple. Look for students who are 1 or 2 years ahead of you and just ask around for jobs. Ask around for the best possible job. Come up with like, people are going to say, this job's good, this job's good, this job's good. And you'll start to pull together some answers and then compare and contrast them and pick the best one. And these are jobs which are not competitive. That's the thing. Like if you apply, you'll probably get it. You know what I mean? These are jobs which are pretty easy to get into. So that's the benefit of doing quote unquote like a menial college job. You can literally get paid to study, make a ton of money, low effort, easy to get into, and you start to meet new people. Also, it could center around some of your hobbies or interests. Like I've had friends who worked in admissions. Granted, they had to do a little bit more effort, but that's just the sort of stuff that they really enjoyed. Like they would have been happy to do that as a club or volunteer, and now they're getting a paycheck on top of it, which is really cool. So that's what I did. During my first 2 years, I basically worked as a cluster technician, and I was making $12 an hour in the beginning. And the more you work, the longer you work there, you get raises. So we got a raise for like $1, another $1. I was really excited seeing my raise go up by $1. I remember like $12 to $15 was crazy because, my logic as a college student was like, okay, wow, first of all, 12 to 15 is a straight up like 25% increase, right? That's a lot. I just made a giant boost in my income. And also, that money really adds up, Kevin. And, $3 extra times like the $20 hours you work, which is like $60, which is like, I always calculated things in meals. I was like, all right, man, that's like 6 delicious meals that you could have outside of the dining hall. Now, yield dining is pretty good, but sometimes you just want to change, of taste. So that's just kind of the way that I was thinking about it. We have a question from Denise. Hi, Denise. This is a bit irrelevant and may sound immature, but I can't take privileged students' achievements seriously. I attend a private school with a full scholarship, and there's a bunch of people like that. How do you feel about this as an Exeter Yale grad? How do I overcome this? This is a great question, Denise. Now, there are things where I was, one of my best friends at Yale, super duper unexpected, was this incredibly, a bit of a wealthy LA girl. And I just would never have, if I found this person on the street, I never would have been like, hi, my name is Kevin. I want to be your friend. But because we were in the same secret society, we became super duper close. Her background could not have been more different. Like 3 or 4 of her siblings went to Yale. So she had a little bit of legacy. Now, this girl worked her absolute butt off. Like I was listening to some of her achievements and I was like, I don't think I could have done things like that. Where she did a camp, and it was a bit of a bougie camp where like you're on a wilderness survival, but things just went so south where they basically don't give you a chaperone. They just give you a map. And she went around and she had these like crazy experiences where she had to build an igloo in nearly freezing temperature. And if like they didn't build the igloo, they had a solid chance of like dying of hypothermia. She did that. There was another one where they were hiking and one of her teammates got injured and twisted an ankle. And so she carried her for like 10 miles, things like that, which were just absolutely like mind blowing listening to what she had achieved. And I thought I worked hard at Exeter, and she was telling me like the life that she lived at her private school and how she like fell asleep in the morning, like studying over cereal and things like that. And just like, I mean, it's just hard work is not limited to poor people. Hard work is not limited to unprivileged people. And even though people could be in a bit of a privileged position, they could go above and beyond, and really do things that are just extraordinary and still very much impressive. Things that like kind of shake you to your core and inspire you. I don't think that, just because you were born with a lot of money, that doesn't mean that you can't still work hard and put out. Hard work is like holy water. It just washes away a lot of these sins and makes people respect you. So that's kind of my perspective on this. I have seen, is it a little bit easier? I think that maybe sometimes the actual opportunity itself, right? Like finding that opportunity might be easier if you come from a privileged background. Okay, not might be, it is easier. Straight up. It's a lot easier, right? To get that coveted law internship or to get into the summer program. If your older sister or your sibling got in and, but at the same time, it's like, okay, what did you choose to do? Think about it like this. Like we were given, okay, here's another really an analogy. Like, let's say we're both cooks and I'm cooking with not so great ingredients and I could make like a really fantastic meal. And then a privileged person would have just access to better ingredients, but they can still really do something sophisticated, work really hard and put together in a really impressive meal. So that's kind of the way that I think about it. At the end of the day, guys, I just want you to consider, like, am I doing the best that I can with the resources that I have? If you constantly compare yourself to other people, it really is a recipe for disappointment and sadness. But just compare yourself to your previous version, right? Like to you from last week or 2 weeks ago, from a year ago. Are you improving? Are you developing as a person? And my mom, I recommended a really fantastic piece of advice, which is this concept of cherry picking. Cherry picking essentially says, surround yourself with really, really brilliant people. Step 1. Step 2, note that they are people. They're going to have things that they do incredibly well and faults. And then 3, like really focus on what this person does super well out of this world. Nick is incredibly selfless. This person, Tom, is super duper hardworking. This person, his critical thinking abilities and his philosophy is something that I can really admire and learn from, and start drawing inspiration from those people. So that is something that's really helped me, especially when I was growing up at Exeter and thinking about like, wow, there's so many different characters in the dorm, some that I admire, some that I don't, some that I respect, some that I don't. What do these people do well? Why are they better than me? And how can I learn to be more like them? And oftentimes it's a matter of following their actions and habits. So it's like, wow, this person is deeply selfless. Why? Oh, they do selfless things. Okay. Like for instance, when they're approaching, they see opportunity in writing a thank you note or a birthday card to someone, which I necessarily may not have thought of. They're going above and beyond in these acts of service, right? Someone asks them for help with math, they'll show up for a week and give them, tailored help. How can I go above and beyond like that? So that was kind of a tangent, but hopefully that was helpful. All right, let's talk a little bit more, returning back to that subject of making money in college. For me, a real breakthrough came with tutoring. So you guys got to understand that there are some jobs which they have a cap. For instance, working in a tennis shop, if I just ran this shop, actually, that's a bad example because you can make a lot of money running a tennis shop given the circumstances. Okay, an example would be a waiter or a waitress. Even that is not that great of an example, but okay, I'll just give you, all right, let's say you're working as a waiter and your salary is like $7.50. You're making minimum wage. I don't even know what minimum wage is these days. Depends on the region. $7.50 plus tips. So let's say at the end of your first year, you're making $10. And I really want you guys to think like this is temporary. If you're making $10 your first year, you should be gunning for like 15 your next or 20 your next. We're thinking about a game of doubles. How can I double my income? How can I double what I do? So you could work twice as hard. You could work twice as many hours, or you could switch restaurants, right? If I'm working at McDonald's making $7.50 versus I go to a slightly more upgraded place. Let's say I want to do something different. And now I do more of an American fine dining. Like who knows? It could even just be like a burger joint where people sit down and start to pay more for the service. And then you start moving your way up. It's just that kind of concept where if you guys can do that on a regular basis for 1 to 2 years, and I really want you to understand that it's not necessarily working within the context of the same organization. If the organization doesn't have that opportunity for you, leave or make that organization, right? So that's kind of what I found with tutoring. I started tutoring for free, just in my dorm, making like $20 an hour. No. I was tutoring for free. I wasn't even making money back then. And then I think my first gig was there was a lady. Yeah, and this was so funny, guys. You have to hear this funny story. Basically, at Yale, there is a Chinese WeChat group for all the parents where they talk just about two things only. They talk about politics and they talk about setting their kids up for marriage. Hilarious. It's literally the entire group chat. And it will split into like dozens of other smaller group chats. And then the parents bragging about each other's kids. Anyways. One parent was starting a tutoring company and really focused on writing. So this is something that I was really bad at, was not great at writing in high school, got a lot better. And my mom signed me up essentially. It was like, hey, would you be interested? Let's try it out. So I was like, sure. It was $30 an hour, which was just like a ton of money to me. That was crazy. $30 for really 50 minutes of work. In the beginning, there was a lot of lesson planning, but as I got better and better at it, it took less time to prepare and I actually got more students. So at one point in time, I think I was, I scaled it up. First, I was tutoring 3 hours a week, and then just slowly increasing my hours and realizing I was working these 2 jobs pretty much. I think I worked one more job. Yeah, I worked for Crimson College Consulting for a bit, but I didn't like it. That's a story for another day. Tutoring, student tech job. Sometimes I would tutor during my student tech job and make that like 30 an hour plus on top of the 15 while I was in the computer lab. I would do things like that. So tutoring, I was making 30 an hour, and then slowly I started developing this mentality. I was like, how can I get better at tutoring? How can I get, and then take that and just push that like crazy. How can I get so good at tutoring that I'm like top in the nation? Or how can I get so good at this one skill that I am top in the nation or in the world, like really insanely good at this? I mean, even if you're like the best waiter in the world, you could work at a 3-star Michelin restaurant and you could make a lot of money. You could probably make 6 figures, and you'd have it would be something that you're prideful of, you enjoy that sort of thing. So yeah, or even if you run a summer camp, right? Or tennis, how can I be the number one in the world? I want to run a tennis academy, or I want to run a tennis club for New York professionals. I think that is a very good way to think about work or to think about your job. And not just like, oh, because I can make more money, but because I want to increase my value to the world. We talked about this last week, where how much you're paid is just a function of the value that you deliver. And this is also, maybe your customer base and who you're delivering value to. So when I came to tutoring, I was like, all right, under what circumstance would I be so good that people would be willing to pay me 50, 60, 80, $100 an hour for something like this? And what I realized is if my students won national awards, if I could guarantee that my students won national awards, then I could make a lot, right? And it would be something that I would be deeply proud of. So that's what I started thinking about. I was like, or what if I could guarantee that these kids would get into a top 20 college? And so, fast forward a few years later, I've been testing lots of theories, and I've realized that there is a method to the madness. Like if technically, like if you do follow my program, you will win a writing award. You will get into a top 20 college. It's like incredibly hard not to, so long as you follow the right strategy and you kind of, you write in this specific way. So that's what I learned. That's what I realized. And that's how I'm able to charge a lot more. I think that the real breakthrough moment for me was when that student won their first national award. After that, I was like, it was 2 breakthrough moments. The first student, and then once I duplicated it with like 3 to 5 students, I was like, GG, thank you guys. I will collect your cash now. No, just kidding. But I was like, wow, I really have come up with something that is so uniquely competitive. Like, I don't think any other tutor can guarantee this. And plus I have like the brand of Yale, and I've been tutoring for a long time now, for 5 years, thousands of hours, all that good stuff. If we were to apply that approach to something else, would it still work? For sure. I mean, even if you applied it to the dimension of tech, let's see, Aryan. Hey, can I manage to study in the US as an international student with maximum 20K in total funding from the family? I'm hoping I can get decent financial aid. For sure. The Ivies will offer you full financial aid if you get in. It just depends on which school. The more selective schools typically have more money and will offer more aid. Yeah. So like if you got into Harvard and your family was making less than 40, 50K, you'd get a full ride. Mm-hmm. I don't know so much about international student scholarships. Let's say you got into Williams College and they want you to go, but they make you pay 30K. That would be a little bit tricky. You might have to find some more creative solutions there. Where was I? So let's say I'm doing student tech work and I really enjoy it and I want to get very, very good at it, like world class. I think that is something to consider when you're starting that job. Can I get world class? Do I want to become world class at this one thing? And that's going to kind of dictate how much time you spend on it and whether you're going to pursue it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, etc. Let's take the example of student tech. Like, let's say you're really interested in tech and you could start your own business even at school. Last week, we talked about identifying opportunities, inefficiencies. I've heard of cases where kids were like buying textbooks and they realized that it was cheaper to buy textbooks on Amazon and then sell them at school. So that's what they did. And I had a friend make like a couple $1,000s that way. Another inefficiency and getting world class, right? Like if you combine those two, you can do really well. And it might take you a while. It might take you 6 months. It might take you a year, but college is 4 years long. So I think plotting that strategically is going to help. When it came to, so the student tech example, I keep getting distracted, but essentially, let's say that basically what you do is you fix computers, right? You fix things. You could start your own kind of like little, what is it called, business at school, just fixing computers or helping people clean their computers or helping people fix their phones, things like that. I'm sure that you could, if you got so good at it that you were like the #1 person on campus, you could do well. You could make good money. And then growing that and thinking about scale, that's a conversation for another time. It's kind of complicated, but hopefully that answers your guys' questions about making money. It is really that simple as, there's so many jobs at the university. Ask older students, just to recap, and also how can I get world class at something that pays me pretty well? Do I want to get world class? What does that look like? So yeah, that's kind of the lecture component of today. I don't want to keep just like talking and droning. Feel free to ask me questions, guys. I want to make this a dialogue, not just me like blah, 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 just talking at you guys. I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. Yeah. Keep in mind of those summer opportunities, you'll probably have to start looking for jobs a lot sooner than you think, even like 6 months in advance. For summer, I mean. So if you're looking for an internship or things like that, I'd get started looking in December or January if you're trying to start in May or June. Super easy, Chris. I think you missed the beginning. Those on-campus jobs, like they literally have set up funds to pay students for these like really easy jobs because they know that they want kids to do like work study programs. So almost every top university, even like top 30, will have something like that set up. Yeah. And I know companies which even have really great structures. Like my friend worked at Chipotle and they gave her a scholarship if you work a certain number of hours a week. Starbucks too can pay you pretty well. And yeah, those are fun jobs. I don't know, maybe you love Starbucks and you want to cop a free drink, 3 times a week, go work there. It's all sugar though. It's all sugar, the guys. They're really easy, Chris. Like everyone who applies would get the job. I would say 80%, 90% rate. It's just a matter of finding the job might be a little bit more tricky. You're going to have to do some asking around, talk to older people in the dorm, talk to people in clubs, things like that. And they'll slide you opportunities. Besides, like these people are leaving their jobs. You know what I mean? Like if you're a junior or senior, you're leaving. So you're trying to find someone to replace you. So there's that. Chipotle rejected me. Never mind. Maybe Chipotle is harder to get into than I thought. Are there any skills that students should learn outside of college and academics? Yeah, I think every student should learn personal finance. I think every student should learn. I mean, I wanted to create a whole channel dedicated to this sort of stuff. I've been really swamped this summer, guys. Unfortunately, I was going to make more videos. But anyways, what skills should students learn outside of college? I'm just going to rattle off some skills that I think people should know. You guys should know how to speed read. I think it's really important to study attraction and relationships. So, how do you persuade, seduce, and also what does a healthy relationship look like? A lot of kids don't know that. I think kids should learn personal finance, basics of stock market investing, retirement funding, things like that. How much should I save? How much should I invest? Let's see. students should learn how to write. Writing is really helpful. And then a lot of your schools will have writing centers for you to practice that sort of thing. Learn how to code and design. So coding and designing are two different things. So coding is like actually writing lines of code, and designing is like you can use Canva, you can use Photoshop. Learning some sort of media skill, especially in today's world, like we consume so much media, whether it's through TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, kind of understanding like how people make those sorts of things, picking up a camera and just playing around with it, you could get pretty good in a year or two. So yeah, those are like 5 essential skills. And languages, I think, are really fun. Travel, for sure. Study abroad, travel. I say that all the time, and I mean it. What do you think is the best way to save money starting in college/high school? So the easiest way, guys, is just to pay yourself first and do this robotically without even you thinking. So every time you make a paycheck, let's say you make $10, immediately $1 goes into your retirement account. You never even see that dollar. It just disappears. You can set it up. You can set up your banking that way. And that's the way I do it. Except now it's a lot more aggressive. Like let's say I make $100. I don't even know how people spend so much money in a year. It costs me like 10 to 15 grand to survive. And everything else, I just pour into the stock market. Literally, I pour into Bitcoin, Tesla, and Ethereum. Those are my 3 investments. I know it sounds crazy, but I have a lot of conviction in those 3. So easiest way to save money is don't even think about it. Like make it automatic so that once that money enters your account, boom, it just automatically goes in. You can do it daily. It could be whenever you get a paycheck. It could be every 2 weeks. No Dogecoin, guys. Dogecoin will not be here in 10 or 20 years. I don't know. But I think Bitcoin and Tesla will be. So my horizon's a little bit longer. I'm not doing a lot of trading these days. More just dollar cost averaging, Like my account is set up where I buy $50 of Tesla every day, no matter the price. Yeah. Excuse me, stuffy nose. Any other questions, guys? Thanks for joining. I'm really honored that you're all here. We're down 1,200 on Doge. Yeah. Be careful, guys. Be careful with the fads. It's a classic trading setup. Maybe if you were in like 3 months ago, and you just poured a few dollars there. Yeah, Flash Fiction Fridays are done. Sad. I realized people were unsubscribing whenever I published a Flash Fiction Friday video. So that was really sad. I don't use any productivity apps or note-taking apps. I know people sometimes use Notion. I just use I actually like handwriting things and printing them out. It's slower, but I think it's better for memory. Yeah, I've heard the Pomodoro timer app is good, but I'm old-fashioned. I will literally just set up a timer on my phone or a timer on my computer. Nothing fancy. People were focusing and studying. You hear those like Chinese medieval students, not even medieval. They were like 400, AD, 600 AD. They would study like 16 hours a day. they didn't have any apps. And they could do way more than we did, like people literally memorized entire Shakespearean plays to tell their friends just because like they had to and there was no recording devices. Is writing about how much interesting technology seems to me a good idea for a college app? I mean, it depends on the execution. I think the idea could be good. Technology is also broad. You're talking about like, space rocket technology, or are you talking about like TikTok? Those are all different kinds of technology. Depends on how you skin the cat. So yeah. Any other questions, guys? I'm happy to be here with you all. Start of summer. People are out of school now. What are you guys doing with your free time? I've been playing a lot of League of Legends. I'm ashamed to admit. That's why I haven't been posting videos, because I play a lot of League. But yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to my friends in a while, and now it's become so ubiquitous. Like my Miami friends play League. My Miami friends from elementary school who are in different cities in Florida. My high school friends from Exeter who are in California, Georgia, New York. We play together. And then like now even my Yale friends who are in Boston, Wisconsin, New York, we play together as well. In general, software and stuff. It might be good, Aryan. It really depends on. I'd have to see more, like a proposal about, maybe a paragraph proposal about what is the key turning point moment, how have you grown, what does the reflection look like, that sort of thing. Okay, what other questions do you guys have? Bit of a slow day. You guys are graduating from high school, going into college. What a time to be alive. I think another kind of piece of advice that I want to give you guys is that most of the world doesn't kind of doesn't go to college, and I have been finding that my life that I lived at Yale versus like how normally the world operates, there's a really big gap. Like I'm kind of realizing that for the last 8 or 9 years I've just been transported from bubble to bubble, and seeing the way that my parents work as waiters in a restaurant, as cooks, and the challenges that they're facing, and traveling to Brazil and hearing about like what life is like over there has really opened my mind, and is challenging a lot of the assumptions. Like of course you're constantly surrounded by like, oh, consulting and investment banking, and you hear about like the startups and all your friends work at up and coming companies or those big names. And so you lose touch with like, yeah, 95% of society doesn't live or think like that, which is just kind of funny. Being productive in summer is pretty hard since there's no obligation. So Denise, it really depends on what your motivation is. I found that it's also a skill that you get better at. So just start off slow and see if you can I study an hour a day on something that like really you wake up and you're excited to study about. Most days a week. Some days it will feel like a slog, but most days you're like, wow, I'm really excited to get this done. I'm really excited to read, or I'm really excited to do this. I get to do this. It's a privilege. Kind of want to trick your brain that way. Hi, Maddie. Maddie Ziegler. Okay, guys, I'll stay on for maybe 5-10 more minutes. Let me know what I can do for you, right? This is a time for me to be available and answer your questions. I'm really happy to just talk about whatever. And if you guys are enjoying the live stream, you guys can toss a super sticker or a super chat where you can show your support for Kevin Zhen. That's what it says. Send an animated image or send a highlighted message. Yeah, the bubble experience. Motivation is boarding school apps. What's the point in life? I feel trapped to get a good job in the future. Sawyer, so, I am literally like living through this right now, my friend, where it's like, what am I going to do? I mean, like, especially within Asian cultures, whether it's East Asian, South Asian, even a lot of Middle Eastern cultures, been hearing about like, it's that our parents didn't really enjoy stability, and that's what they want to pass on to us. Maybe they don't want us to work so hard, quote unquote. They want like a better life. What does a better life look like? But the issue is that there's such a big gap. Our parents just want stability versus what we're looking for is self-actualization. It's like literally a higher purpose and meaning to life. And so like for years, essentially like the first 12 or 13 years of my life, I lived in this fantasy where my parents were just shoving down like, you need money, 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 you need a job, job, job. And then what? Like, I feel like I actually kind of have that under control. And I was reading this book, this really amazing book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And I think I kind of figured it out. Just kidding. I didn't figure it out. This book told me everything. This book basically says the meaning to life is real simple, Sawyer and friends. Dedicate yourself to helping others. That's it. If you dedicate your life to helping others, you will live an incredibly gratifying and fulfilled life. So that's pretty much what's going to happen, I think, after I've made enough money. Like, how much money do I really need? Couple $100,000, before the age of 30, and then you're fine. A lot of it, if you make right investments, you could easily grow it. And I spend so little that I just don't have that much need for an insane amount of money or wealth. And then what? I might start a nonprofit, or I might just like, I've had little pipe dreams of working in a breakdance studio, tutoring kids on the side, and just working on that. And there's another concept, which you probably know of. It's a Japanese concept called Kaizen, which is essentially daily struggle, daily refinement, and getting better at the things that you're working on. And so maybe that's the meaning of life too. It's a combination of those two things, trying to constantly improve and innovate, as well as helping others, and really thinking about this collective humanity and how you can leave a dent there, how you can make your impact. And I think that's what's going to generate a lot of pride and meaning in your life versus like, oh, I'm just doing a job to do the job, right? That's a very fast way to lose meaning. Oh, I'm doing a job. Why? Oh, yeah, so the company can make money, so it can grow shareholder value. That is like the lamest reason to exist. You know what I mean? Like you will grow very tired of that very fast. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I mean, another reason to live, right, is to love. Met my girlfriend this past year. Coronavirus was not good for the world, but it was not so bad for me personally. Started a company, met the love of my life again, traveled to Brazil. I'm learning Portuguese every day, playing video games with my friends, and living in Miami, enjoying the good weather. Today, it might rain. There's a chance of afternoon showers, but breakdancing, getting better there. Life is not so bad. Although sometimes I do tend to feel like I am living life on repeat a bit. And it's important to break that cycle yourself. You kind of have to put yourself out there. It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna exist and do what I do and expect things to change. Nothing will change unless you kind of put that foot forward and you show up and you kind of ask for it. I'll give you an example, right? Like I was just breakdancing alone, and finally, I was literally so scared, guys. But yesterday, I went to a breakdancing competition downtown, and I got my butt handed to me. It was a little bit embarrassing. And I felt a lot of emotions. I felt kind of ashamed, but I felt scared. At the end of the day, I did feel kind of proud. And I was like, it wasn't easy, but I showed up. I got served essentially, and it's instilled a new fire to keep practicing. And I don't want to practice alone anymore. Just that community is something that I've missed. So I'm not just going to sit around and wait for the community to form itself around me. You know, I have to search for the community, or maybe I can be the one building it. COVID is fine in Miami. A lot of people are vaccinated. Yeah. Have you guys heard of some of the incentives they're giving people? Like, oh, if you get, I think in like West Virginia, or I don't remember where I heard it, but if you get a COVID vaccine, they'll give you a gun, like a straight up a gun, or something ridiculous like that. Oh my gosh. And in Colorado, they're like, oh, if you get vaccinated, we'll give you a J. We'll give you a joint. So ridiculous. It's really that hard to get vaccinated, guys. Oh man. I just got my first shot, and I was sore for a bit. I need my second shot in a week or two. I've waited a while to get it since I was in Brazil. Free pizza and lotto tickets. Yeah, I think a girl won the lotto with her vaccine thing. It's pretty funny. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining. We'll wrap it up here. If you have any questions or you want to chat more one-on-one, you can always feel free to schedule a meeting. bit.ly/botherkevin20. Technically, the link is closed, but if you guys are here on the live stream and you use it, just write down in the reason, like, oh, I was on Kevin's live stream and I want to meet. That would be helpful. Otherwise, I might cancel on you, depending on how busy I am next week. So thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you guys found this helpful. I just want to be a resource to you guys. And even if I'm just helping one person, I take a lot of pride in joy in that. So thank you guys so much. All right. I know, right, Denise? It's messed up. Like literally people in so many other countries are dying, and the vaccine, we take it for granted. It's unfortunate. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time. I'm constantly rooting for your success. Your success is my success. Take it easy. Until next time. Ciao, ciao.